Most people know the obvious signs that someone's attracted to them. They hold eye contact. They touch your arm. They might laugh at everything you say. Those ones are hard to miss. But there's a whole other layer of signals that happen beneath all of that, and these are the ones that really matter because they're the ones that people can't fake. Every single one that I'm going to take you through is involuntary, which means they can't be faked even when someone's trying. You've had moments where you sensed that something was there. Nothing major happened, but your body registered it before your brain caught up. And now you're replaying the whole interaction, trying to figure out what you actually felt. Well, I'm about to show you exactly what these 9 specific behaviors of mutual attraction are and what you can do when you see them. Let's go. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when it comes to reading these signals, your reaction is everything. If you can see the signs and respond with calm confidence, you will stand out from every other man who misses them or misreads them with desperate eagerness. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When you cultivate the awareness to see what others miss, your soul becomes dyed with the color of clarity. And that clarity is what will make you unforgettable. When someone's genuinely into you, their nervous system responds before they've made a conscious decision to show it. Their body moves towards you, even when they might prefer it to stay neutral. Their face does things that they're not even aware of. Their brain flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, the same neurochemicals that are involved in reward and arousal, starts prioritizing you in ways that show up in their behavior without them realizing it. What we're looking at today are those involuntary behaviors. The reasons that they're so easy to miss is that they don't look like what we think attraction looks like. They look like ordinary behavior until you know what you're looking for. Keep in mind, these behaviors don't work in isolation. One of them on their own can mean almost anything. What you're watching for is a pattern. It's a cluster of these signals or behaviors showing up consistently in the same person across multiple interactions. When you see 4 or 5 of them together, you're not reading into things. You're reading it correctly. Behavior number 1 is the orienting response. Start with something simple. When you walk into a room, does this person's body turn toward you even slightly before their eyes do? There's a name for this in behavioral science. It's called the orienting response, and it's one of the most primitive things that the human nervous system does. When our brain detects something it's paying close attention to, the body automatically pivots towards it. The feet, the torso, the shoulders, they all rotate in the direction of whatever has our attention. People can control their eye contact. They can look away. They can avoid your gaze. They can give you a perfectly neutral expression, but they almost never control their feet. And feet, according to research from body language expert Joe Navarro, are one of the most honest parts of the human body precisely because nobody thinks to manage them. So next time you're in a group setting with this person, notice where their feet are pointing. If their feet keep finding you even when they might be talking to someone else, that's not something that you're inventing. That's your nervous system receiving a message that their conscious mind didn't intend to send. And here's what to do when you see this sign. Don't overthink it, but you can use it. The orienting response tells you that their attention is already on you. So give it somewhere to land. Move closer to them naturally. Join the conversation that they're already in. Or you can make eye contact with them and try if you can to hold it for a beat longer than usual or a beat longer than feels comfortable for you. You're not chasing, you're meeting them where their body already is. Let that be enough to open the door a little bit wider. Seneca wrote that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. When you see the orienting response, don't anxiously overthink it. Just be present and meet them where they are. Number 2 is voice, pitch, and warmth. This is the one that people completely overlook because it requires you to pay attention not to what they're saying, but to how they sound when they say it to you specifically. Research from the University of Stirling found that people unconsciously lower and soften their voice when they're speaking to someone that they're attracted to. This isn't a deliberate vocal performance. It's the nervous system down-regulating. It's a signal of warmth, of wanting to be closer, and of comfort. And it happens without thought. In women, the voice often becomes slightly lower and warmer. And in men, there can be a similar softening or the opposite. There could be a slight increase in energy and projection when they're trying to get a woman's attention. The tell is the contrast. Does this person's voice sound noticeably different when they're talking to you versus when they're talking to someone else in the same conversation? If they become somehow softer, warmer, or more animated with you specifically, that shift is meaningful. It's the vocal equivalent of physically leaning in. Now, you can test this by observing them in a group. Watch how they talk to other people. Then notice what happens to their voice the moment they turn to you. If there's a shift, even a small one, in pace, in pitch, in how much warmth is suddenly present, then you're seeing their nervous system make an adjustment that it didn't consciously decide to make. And here's what to do when you notice this. You can match it. If their voice has softened, let yours do the same. Drop your volume slightly, slow your pace, and make the conversation feel like it belongs just to the two of you. Proximity and quiet create intimacy faster than anything that you can say. You're not copying them. You're responding to what they've already started. That mirroring deepens the connection between you in a safe and easy way. Epictetus taught that no great thing is created suddenly, and the vocal shift that signals attraction is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of moments, each one building on the last. Each time their voice softens around you, you become more attuned to their feelings. Behavior number 3, they remember things that go beyond polite. This one's pretty underrated. Pay attention to what someone remembers about you. Polite attention means that someone listens while you're talking, but real attraction means they file it away. Harry Rees, a social psychologist who spent decades studying intimacy and connection, found that one of the most consistent markers of genuine interest is where the other person stores and retrieves details about you, not just in the moment, but later on as well. When someone brings something up that you mentioned weeks ago, something small, something that you barely remember saying, that isn't coincidence. The brain doesn't retain information that it's indifferent to. What you remember says a lot about what you've been thinking about, and thinking about something means it's taking up mental real estate. If this person recalls the name of your sister, or asks how the job interview went that you mentioned offhand, or they reference an opinion that you gave once in passing, that's their brain revealing that you've been occupying more of their attention than the surface level of your interactions would suggest. Think about it from your own experience. The people you remember in detail are the people that matter to you. You don't unconsciously catalogue the preferences and offhand comments of someone that you're indifferent to. Memory is really selective because attention is selective and attention follows interest. When someone's built a detailed picture of you from fragments that you barely remember sharing, their attention has been on you far more than they've let on. Here's what to do when you see this. Acknowledge it. Not with a big reaction, but with genuine warmth. Say something like, "I can't believe you remembered that." Those few words do more than you'd think. They signal to the other person that their attention hasn't gone unnoticed and that it mattered. And they create a small moment of real connection between you. Then you can build on it. You can ask them something that shows that you've been paying attention too. Memory is a love language that you can use to let them know that you're interested too. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. When someone remembers small details about you, you have power over whether you acknowledge it or dismiss it. And the man who acknowledges it, the man who responds with genuine warmth, that man is the one she will remember. Behavior number 4 is the eyebrow flash. This one happens so fast that most people miss it entirely. When we see someone that we're genuinely pleased to encounter, the eyebrows raise very briefly. We're talking a fraction of a second and then it drops again. Paul Ekman, the psychologist whose work formed the basis of most modern facial coding research, described this as one of the most universal and involuntary expressions of genuine recognition and pleasure. It's not manufactured enthusiasm or that social smile that you give someone you're professionally or politely obligated to greet warmly. The eyebrow flash is a micro-expression. It happens before the social mask goes back on, which is exactly why it's reliable. People fake their smiles all the time, consciously or not. But the eyebrow flash, that's the brain responding before the performance that all humans put on to a greater or lesser degree happen. The next time this person sees you unexpectedly in a hallway, in a meeting, anywhere that they didn't anticipate that you'd appear, watch the first half a second of their face. If there's a brief upward movement of the eyebrows the moment they register you, that's a signal from a part of the nervous system that doesn't audition for the role. It's exactly the same for people who dislike you. If you happen to pop up when they're not expecting it, watch their face in the first fraction of a second. It will show their true feelings about you before their brain registers to put that mask back on. What's particularly useful about this signal is that it's hard to produce on demand and nearly impossible to suppress. Actors train for years to perform micro-expressions convincingly, and most still can't do it reliably. The fact that it happens involuntarily is exactly what makes it so meaningful. And here's what you can do when you see this. Return it. Give them a genuine smile, not just a polite one, but a real one. Right in that first second, you're responding to the honest version of them that just showed up before they had a chance to compose themselves. And when you meet them with that warmth instead of indifference, it tells them without a single word that their unguarded reaction was welcome. And that kind of response is pretty magnetic. Seneca wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. When you see the eyebrow flash, don't waste the moment. Respond with genuine warmth. And that warmth is what will make her want to see you again. Behavior number 5 is nervous energy in their hands. Usually, people associate nervousness with anxiety or discomfort. But neurologically, nervous energy and attraction are really closely related states. When someone's attracted to you, their body produces norepinephrine, the same chemical that's involved in the fight or flight response, and that chemical produces physical symptoms, a slightly elevated heart rate, a warmth in the face, and very often restlessness in the hands. So, they might touch their face more than usual around you. They might fidget with a phone or a nearby object. They might adjust their hair or fix their collar, or they might start smoothing their clothing. Behaviors that ethologists, people who study human and animal behavior, called preening. Across species, this signals a form of self-presentation to someone that the organism wants to impress. Here's what separates attraction nerves from discomfort nerves: the direction of their body. Someone who's nervous because they're uncomfortable with you, they're going to lean back. They're going to create distance, and they're going to find reasons to leave. Someone whose nervous energy comes from attraction, they're going to do the opposite. They'll stay close. They'll find reasons to extend the conversation even while their hands are busy doing something that they can't explain. There's something quietly telling about this one, because when someone's preening around you, when they're suddenly aware of how they look, suddenly fixing things that didn't need fixing before you arrived, what they're actually doing is responding to the fact that your opinion of them matters. And the things that matter to us are the things that have our attention. And here's what you can do when you see this behavior. Ease the pressure without eliminating the charge. Say something genuine and low stakes that gives them a reason to relax. A real compliment, a light comment, something that makes them laugh. You're not trying to turn off their nervous system. You're just trying to redirect that energy from anxiety into connection. When someone feels less like they're being evaluated and more like they're just talking to you, the conversation can then start to open up. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you see nervous energy, react with calm. Don't make her feel more self-conscious. Make her feel at ease. And that ease is what will make her want to be around you more. Behavior number 6, they synchronize with you. Mirroring gets talked about a lot in body language circles, but the version that actually signals deep attraction is subtler than someone just copying your gestures. What you're looking for is synchrony. It's not conscious copying, but it's a natural falling into a rhythm that happens when two people's nervous systems are in sync with each other. Their breathing slows to match yours. Their speech rhythm adjusts, and if you slow down, they slow down. If you lean forward a beat or so later, they might do the same. Psychologists spent years studying interpersonal synchrony, and they found that couples in genuinely close relationships show high levels of this kind of unconscious alignment. It's what they called movement coordination. The key thing about it is that it's unconscious. Deliberate mirroring, it looks a little bit calculated, but natural synchrony, it looks easy, almost effortless, and it's this kind of thing you feel more than you notice. Which is why people can't articulate what made a conversation feel so good. They just know that it felt like they were on the same frequency as this person. That frequency is real, by the way. It's your nervous systems talking to each other when your mouths are on a different subject entirely. When this happens, conversations lose track of time. You might find yourself surprised by how long you've been talking. The exchange doesn't feel effortful, And there's this kind of ease that's really hard to manufacture because it can't be manufactured. It can only appear when two people are genuinely drawn into each other's orbit. And here's what you can do when you see this behavior. Lean into the rhythm rather than interrupting it. Slow down if you've been talking fast. Let there be pauses. The biggest mistake people make in a conversation that's flowing like that is filling all the space. The silence is part of the synchrony. It's not a gap to fix. And if you want to deepen it deliberately, try this. Lean forward slightly and notice whether they follow. Give it a few seconds. If they do, you've just confirmed that their nervous system is tracking yours without them even realizing it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When you synchronize with someone, your thoughts and movements align. And that alignment is what creates the feeling of deep connection. Behavior number 7. They find physical reasons to close the distance. Attraction pulls bodies towards each other. This isn't metaphor, this is neurological. The brain maps physical proximity to psychological closeness. And when someone's drawn to you, they're going to find reasons, plausible, socially acceptable reasons to reduce the space between you. They'll sit in the seat next to you rather than across the table. They'll walk on your side of the footpath. They lean slightly towards you when you're talking in a group, even when the volume doesn't require it. They'll find a reason to hand you something instead of just putting it down. Small, explainable behaviors, but the pattern is consistent. What distinguishes this from general friendliness is whether it's directional. A friendly person is equally comfortable at any distance. A person who's attracted to you creates a gradient. So, the closer they can get without breaking a social norm, the better. Proxemics, which is the study of how humans use space in relation to each other, tells us that the zones we allow people into are directly tied to how we feel about them. The intimate zone, so that's roughly within arm's reach, is the one that we protect most fiercely with strangers. And it's the one that we unconsciously open up when we feel safe with someone. When an attracted person keeps finding ways to reduce that gap, even by a foot, even by a few inches, they're telling you something with their body that they might not be ready to say out loud. And here's what to do when you see this behavior. Don't move away and don't immediately close the remaining gap either. Just stay where you are and let them come. And when you hold your position comfortably, relaxed, present, not reacting with awkwardness, you're signaling that their closeness is welcome without making it a big deal. If it feels right, you can match them by finding your own small reason to reduce the distance very slightly. Not a lunge, just a small lean or a small step, something very natural. The goal is to make the space between you feel intentional rather than accidental. Seneca wrote that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. When she closes the distance, don't anxiously overthink it. Just be present. And that presence is what will make the moment feel right. Behavior number 8, they notice changes in you before you say anything. One of the clearer signs that someone's paying close attention to you in a way that goes beyond ordinary social awareness is that they notice when something's different about you. You haven't told them anything, but because they've been watching closely enough to have a baseline, they notice you had a haircut, they notice that you seem quieter than usual, and they ask you about it directly. They notice you're wearing something new. This kind of perception requires sustained, detailed attention. The kind that only happens when someone's mind's been returning to you regularly enough to have built an accurate mental picture. Monica Moore's research on courtship signaling found that individuals who were highly attentive to a potential partner showed significantly elevated rates of noticing behaviors. Actions designed to acknowledge the other person's individuality and signal that they've been paying close attention. It's a form of care that doesn't announce itself, but it shows up consistently in people who are genuinely drawn to someone. What makes this one so revealing is the baseline it implies. To notice that something's different, you have to know what normal looks like. And to know what normal looks like, you have to have been paying attention for long enough and closely enough to have formed a mental image of this person that's detailed and updated. You don't build that kind of picture about someone that you're not thinking about. You build it about someone who keeps coming back to your mind. And here's what to do when you see this sign. Let yourself be seen noticing back. If they pick up on something different about you, don't deflect it with a quick, "Oh, yeah, thanks," and move on. Pause. Make it a moment. Say something like, "Oh, you actually noticed that. Most people wouldn't." and then ask them something specific about themselves in return, something that shows you've been paying attention to them in the same way. Mutual noticing is the beginning of real intimacy. Don't rush past it and move on. Epictetus taught that no great thing is created suddenly, and the mutual noticing that leads to intimacy is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of moments, each one building on the last. Each time you notice something about her and she notices something about you, you build that connection. Behavior number 9. They create reasons to continue the interaction. This one is maybe the most revealing of all because it requires a decision, even if it's an unconscious one. So, when someone's attracted to you, they don't want the interaction to end. So, they'll manufacture reasons to extend it. They'll ask a follow-up question right as you're about to leave, or they'll think of something to add on to a conversation that wrapped up 10 minutes ago. They'll text you something that didn't strictly need saying, but gave them a reason to make contact. These behavior patterns come down to what psychologists call approach motivation. It's the tendency to move towards a desired stimulus. Someone who's ambivalent about you or just simply friendly, they'll let natural endings happen naturally. Someone who's drawn to you will keep finding threads to pull on because being in contact with you activates their reward circuitry in the brain. This is why, if you want to know whether the attraction is mutual, you don't just look at what someone does when they're with you. Look at what they do when the interaction is supposed to be over, because that's when their motivation becomes undeniable. Watch for the extended goodbye. Are they keeping the door half open, literally or metaphorically, a little longer than the situation requires? They find one more thing to say. They message you after with something small, something that didn't need to be said, but they didn't want to leave it unsaid. That last reaching out, those small excuses to stay connected, those are the behaviors that tell you everything the person's feeling, but probably hasn't yet said with words. And here's what to do when you see this sign. Give them something to reach towards. When you feel the interaction starting to wind down, don't just let it dissolve. Plant a seed. Mention something that's coming up in your life. Reference a conversation that you'd like to finish. Say, we should pick this up properly sometime. You're not being pushy. You're giving them a bridge. And if they're already looking for reasons to extend the interaction, a bridge is all they need. Make it easy for them to continue finding their way back to you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. When you give them a bridge, you are exercising that power. You are not waiting passively for them to make a move. You are creating the conditions where connection can flourish. Here's what I want you to take from all this. Attraction is not a single feeling that lives inside one person. It's a conversation happening between two nervous systems, often before either person has consciously decided to say anything. The behaviors that we just talked about are that conversation, the one that's happening underneath the words, underneath the social performances, and underneath whatever either of you is pretending to feel or not feel. You can't manufacture an eyebrow flash. You can't fake synchrony. You can't fake the kind of memory that stores someone's small details for weeks. These aren't things that people choose to do to impress you. They're the things that happen because of what you already mean to them. Whether they've admitted that to themselves or not, what you can do is learn to read the language. Because once you understand what the body's actually saying, you stop needing someone to spell it out for you. The signs are there, quiet, consistent, and completely, absolutely accurate. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus also taught that no great thing is created suddenly. And the attraction that builds through these 9 behaviors is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of moments, each one building on the last. Each moment of orienting, each shift in voice, each remembered detail, each eyebrow flash, each nervous gesture, each moment of synchrony, each step closer, each noticed change, each extended goodbye. They all build towards something greater. And when you understand that, you stop rushing. You stop pushing. You start creating the conditions where attraction can flourish naturally. And that is the real secret. Not tricks, not techniques, understanding. If this video gave you something useful, I'd love to know. Please drop it in the comments because it genuinely helps me understand what resonates with you and what to make more of. And if you're not subscribed yet, that simple little action makes a real difference to me because it's what makes it possible for me to keep creating content like this. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.